Hello and welcome back to episode 9 in Building a Chess Engine in Java. In this episode, we will be implementing things like Checkmate, Stalemate, and a few other things as well. Let's get into it. Okay, so this isn't actually as difficult as you might expect. So the first thing that we're going to do is go into the check scanner class, and at the bottom here, I'm going to create a method called public. It's going to be Boolean. Is game over? And we're going to pass in a piece, and the piece is going to be the king. And this is going to be used to determine the king's side, basically. So in this method, we're going to have a for each loop, or a enhanced for loop. Just say for piece in all of the pieces. Cannot type right now. Anyways, if the board, same team, the piece and the king, meaning we're only looping over pieces that are on the king's team. Basically how this method is going to work is, it's a bit of a brute force way to do it. We're going to check if we have any moves at all. And if we do, then we know we are not in checkmate, or if we're not in stalemate, because we can make a legal move. So once we do this, we're going to set the selected piece, so board.selectedPiece, and we have to check if it is a king. So if the piece is a king, or equal to the king, like this, then we set it to null, actually, like that. Yes, sorry. So if the piece is the king, then we set it to the king, else it's null. Let me actually just go and format that. And then we can have a nested for loop, so int row. Actually, I could probably copy paste this. No, I don't have one here. Int row 0. It's underboard dot rows. It's just a for loop. I don't usually type this bad. Then for the columns as well, like that. Then inside of this nested for loop, we can create a new move, and we're just going to say, we're going to pass in the board, the piece, the column, and the row. And if this is a valid move that the piece can make, so board dot is valid move, passing in the move, then we can return false, meaning we found a valid move that we can make, so the game is not over. And if we don't find any moves that any piece can make, then we say return true, meaning the game is in fact over. No, that's actually it, I believe, for the check scanner class. So in the board class now, we're going to create 2 new variables. And if I were to start over, I'd do this a bit differently. But how we're going to do it now is say public Boolean. I guess it could probably be private, actually. So private Boolean is white to move. And by default, it's going to be true because white gets to move first. And we're going to have another one saying is game over. You could also do a enum for this. Just keep tracks of the different game states through that. But this is how we're going to do it for now, at least. Next, we're going to go into the make move method, so just below. And below the capture, after we make the move or finish the move, we can flip the turn, or change turns, I should say. So is equal to the opposite if is white to move. Meaning if it's white, then it's black, then it's white. It's pretty intuitive. Next, we're going to say, this is a method that we haven't created yet, but update game state. And basically what this method is going to do is, after each move you make, we're going to check for checkmate, stalemate, if you have like insufficient pieces to get checkmate, basically all that. And I'm going to put it at the bottom here. So, how should I? Private void update game state, like that. Then I believe we should go piece king to get the king. So we just say find king is white to move. Now notice that after we call this, we swap it just before. You could, I guess, swap the position if you wanted to, and then just pass in, where was it, the flipped version here. It doesn't make that much of a difference. Then I'm gonna say if check scanner dot is game over for the king. Sorry, why is this? Oh, is game over. I called the wrong method. We're then going to say if the king is checked. So now that we know the game is over, we can say if the king is checked, I'm going to create a new move. Okay, actually, I'll finish writing this first, actually. So if the king is checked, we know it's checkmate. Else, if the king is not checked, but the game is over, we know it's stalemate. That's at least how we're going to do it. I'm not going to get into like 3-move repetition just yet, or any of that stuff. So for now, I can say new move. I'm going to pass in this being the board, the king, and I believe just the king.column, and the king.row. Like that. Then inside we can just say, we can print out, rather, is right to move. And if it is right to move, because we have it flipped, we flipped it before calling this method. If it's right to move, we know that black won because they played the winning move. So black wins, else white wins. And I think that's fine. And I can just say here, there was a better way to do that. Stalemate, like that. That should be fine. And I guess let's actually test this before I get too far ahead. Okay, so I guess the fastest checkmate. You will also notice. Okay, why is it doing that? I believe I forgot is valid move. I need to include. Yeah, so I need to check if it's actually your turn to move when we make the move. So if move dot piece dot is right is equal to is right to move. No, is not equal. Sorry. Then we can return false. Just like that. And I also do if is game over for that. And now, let's see. Yeah, I cannot move twice in a row. So now it's black's turn. And if I go ahead and get a checkmate, you can see in the console here, it says white wins. Now, I'm not going to get into designing a UI for it just yet. I might have an episode about like little things like that towards the end. But for now, we're just going to print out white wins or black wins. Now, this should actually also detect stalemate. So, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through that. I should also do an episode on adding fen strings, so we don't have to do this every time we want to create a new position. Oh, I forgot to close this. I'm sorry. But what I'm doing now is I'm going to the add pieces method, and I'm uncommenting. Oh, I commented all of the pieces out, and I'm uncommenting just a few to test. So I'm going to keep the black king, I guess the white king, and the white queen. And now I'm going to test again. So if I were to just go like that, you can see it's stalemate because black has no places to move. You can also notice you can actually move your pieces outside of the border. This will eventually be fixed in a future episode when I get around to it. Although it doesn't, I guess, change the play of the game, so it should be okay. At least for now. Let's go ahead and comment out of that, or uncomment. Now, the very last thing I'm going to do is say, okay, so I'm going to create a method, or I'm also going to check that, how do I describe this? If you don't have enough pieces to get checkmate, the game will also end, because there's no point playing on if you only have 2 kings, because that would also be a draw. So, in the update game state, I'm going to say, well, I guess no, first I'm going to create a new method. So, private boolean in, let's see if I can spell this right, insufficient, yeah, material. Yeah. I'm going to say boolean is white. And this would just determine like which side is out of pieces. So I think I'm going to use a lambda expression for this, as opposed to just going over a loop and creating a list that adds them each time. I'm gonna assume, I guess, that you have knowledge of a lambda expression. So I'm gonna say array list. I'm gonna take in a string for the piece names. Names. Piece list dot stream dot filter. And I guess I'll put them on separate lines. So piece, then piece dot is white. So we're gonna filter only the pieces that are of the same color. So if it's white, we're only gonna add the white pieces to the names list. We're then going to map the piece to the name. Just go map piece, then p.name. Oh, I deleted the bracket. So then collect. Yeah, then just collectors to collection. array list. I got this. New. Like that. I'm glad it recommended me it. Then, now what this does is it creates a list of all of the pieces on your team, so is White's team. So it'll create a name, a list of the names for them. Now, if I can say if names dot contains a queen, or I'm just going to copy and paste this. So a queen, a pawn, or a rook. If you have any of these pieces, we know that it is not insufficient material because we have enough pieces to get checkmate. So we can just return false. And else we're just going to say, if it makes it past this, we're going to say return names dot size is under 3. Meaning if you have like 2 knights, you can still get a checkmate. This also counts the king as well. So a king plus 2 knights, or 2 bishops, or a bishop and a knight. Now, there was some cases probably where this won't, it'll create a bug and it won't get it correctly. But in that case, it's not going to be game breaking. It'll just go on when there was technically no hope. And I guess in that case, it'll still end in a draw eventually. So this is what we are going to do. It is probably one of the easier ways to do it. Anyways, we can go here and say else if there's else if insufficient material for true being is white and insufficient material false for black. And this will check for both sides, because if one side has enough pieces, then we don't look at the other side, because the game still continues. Else if that, we can print out, I'm just going to copy and paste this. So, insufficient material. Like that. And I think that's... Okay, no, we should also go... Is game over is now equal to true. Put that there, and... no, I'll just put it here. And now I believe we actually... I think we're done. So, if I go here... And I'm not going to bother... Okay, yes I will. I'm going to close that and go back to... commenting everything out except for the king and the right king and queen. Now I can go and take the queen, and it'll print out insufficient material, and this would also be a draw. So that was actually pretty easy to get done. Wait, I think I checked the checkmate, but in case I didn't, let me just do that real quick. Okay. Yeah, white wins. And that's actually it. So next time I'll probably do fence strings just to get that out of the way. But yeah, I'm glad to have finally done this episode. It's been a while. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.